Support comes from Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to sustainable and sound conservation of the state's forests, which support more than 41,000 Missouri jobs, resulting in a $10 billion industry. ChooseWood.com.
Welcome to St. Louis on the Air. I'm Sarah Fenske. Last month, the St. Louis Public Radio digital team announced the winners of its first Photojournalism Prize. The high school students vying for the prize were asked to tell a story with an image, a caption, and a personal reflection. Winners were selected in 6 categories. Joining us today to talk about it is David Kovaluk. He is St. Louis Public Radio's visual communications specialist. He is also himself a photographer. David, welcome to the show.
Hello.
And we're joined by Sara Haag. She's an art and photography teacher at Roosevelt High School. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And last but definitely not least, we're joined by Maya Davis. She's a student at McCluer North High School, and this year she won not only the portrait category, but also Best in Show. Maya, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you.
And Maya, congratulations on your victory. Tell us a little bit about these 2 award-winning photos that you had this year.
Well, the 2 photos I end up showing were actually, I believe I chose them because I knew they were a fan favorite for my teachers. One is a photo of an old friend of mine, and he had a big birthday celebration that was pretty last minute to my noticing, so I decided to walk down and take photos for my friends, and I just happened to look through, and I was like, I kind of like this one.
It's such a joyous
black
moment.
And white. Yes, it's a moment that I'll probably remember just by everyone was so happy in that one moment. And then the second photo, my best portrait, I get special attention because I get to go to dugouts and everything with my friends since I am on yearbook staff and photo editor. So the coaches are pretty familiar with me, and I get to go in special places. And my friend happens to be standing there. The light looked really good. I was like, just stay still. And I got several photos of that moment.
He's there in the baseball dugout,
Yes.
and he just kind of has this look of intensity on his face. How long have you been a photographer?
I've been shooting since my sophomore year of high school.
Okay. And so that was 2 years ago?
Yes.
So were you feeling pretty confident coming into this contest? I'm going to win this thing.
Actually, I didn't input my 2 photos to the very last minute.
And why is that?
My teacher, Miss Scott, is one of the most pushiest. She's like a grandmother to me at school. And that day, she was like, Maya, the deadline's coming. Did you get your photos in? And I was like, no. She's like, you better do it today or else. And I'm like, okay. So I'm at work. And I was like, she said put photos in. So I just picked 2 that I knew she loved. And I was like, all right, just send them in.
And they both won.
Yes.
David Kovaluk, tell us, what about these photos did the judges find appealing?
Oh, I want to add on to that. It's kind of funny because right before we ended up closing the contest early in the day that we had previously decided it would close. We actually got a call from someone that said, "Hey, you closed this contest early. We're still submitting," and we actually were like, "Oh, you're right." And we reread, "Oh, it needs to be through the end of the day," so we reopened it, and we got I don't even. It was a number of more entries in, and realized, oh yeah, that's probably good. We had a couple people on staff go, hey, that's how we do things. It's last
These are
minute.
true journalists. They have to wait to the very last minute.
Time. So, sorry, you asked about how this came about.
Tell us about Maya's photos. What about them was appealing to the judges?
Well, so we had, I think it was 145 entries from a lot of schools. I've got a whole list of them. We were really impressed with the kind of diverse submissions from all over the region. And immediately what struck us with your photos, the emotion and the warmth of that shot of your friend smiling, and specifically to capture that moment with all of the action. I'm talking about the Best in Show photo at the moment, but it was just really it shows a sense of ability to just capture that moment right there, and also the silly string flying and everything. All of that adds to this just really joyous moment, and it's a really incredible capture. And then for your other image, the portrait, it was just there's just a somberness about the way that this guy's steering off, and the way you used leading lines to draw the viewer into the image, and there was a lot of compositional choices you made that were excellent.
So if people want to see those photos for themselves, we'll put them on our St. Louis on the Air Twitter account, and you can also actually come to our lobby. They're here up until December 31st, along with the other winners and some of the finalists, and it's a remarkable body of work. Now, Sarah, as a teacher, Maya sort of described how she needed her teacher to push her to enter. Did you run into that with your students as well?
Yes. God. listening to you talk, it seems like you're like, okay, I'm just doing this so that I can get my teacher off my back.
And that's something you're well acquainted with, I take it.
Yes, I'm like, you need to do this. You need to do this now. Okay, you have 2 hours left. Get this. You need to come back from lunch early and you need to put this in, so.
Sarah, where does this hesitancy come from? I mean, this is not one where you have to pay an entry fee to enter, or, we
Right.
tried to make it pretty easy. What do you think is holding students like yours back?
Honestly, I think it's the time versus reward. So, there's a lot of fear when you put your work out there, like, oh, it won't be good enough, or I think this is good, and then other people won't think it's good. My teacher likes it, but she's crazy, so who knows,
I see Maya laughing. You maybe had these same thoughts running through your head.
Well, and Maya, you actually had a third image. And your teacher was like, you should have submitted up to 3. Yeah. And you were like, oh, yeah. And you showed it to us, and it looked awesome.
Yeah, I did.
And Sarah, you're teaching at a school where it has fewer resources than some of the schools where we had big winners, say, kids from Ladue.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you think that's also part of it, that they're worried, hey, I don't maybe have the fanciest equipment?
You know what? I build my class up a lot. I'm like, you know what? We're going up against all these other schools, and this school right here, there. This is the most expensive school in St. Louis. I'm like, we can beat them. We can totally do this. So we're very, the Roosevelt Art Department is very competitive. We're like, I need to see a winner.
That's great. Yeah. So tell me, what do you think is important? What are the benefits that come from students learning photojournalism?
Well, the number one thing is you're telling a true story. You're not putting your opinion into it. You're telling what really happened. And even with the lighthearted, joyous, best in show photo, which is great, by the way. I love it. There's so much emotion in there. But you're supposed to be like this unobtrusive bystander, and getting kids to realize that, they're teaching someone else about a subject, and the only reason that other people can see that is because they took that photo.
Yeah. Maya, in your 2 years now of being out there shooting things, what kind of impact has that had on you?
I think as a high schooler and having a lot of good associates, you have to realize that a lot of times you have to stand back with certain situations. I tell people all the time when I go shoot big events like pep rallies and parties and all those sorts that I'm there, but I'm not really there. I'm looking through a viewfinder for hours is different than stepping back and seeing everything. So you don't get to interact often with everyone. You don't get to join in. I couldn't have a silly string can because I had my camera in my hand, or I couldn't be in on the group birthday picture because I was taking the group birthday picture. So that sometimes is kind of lonesome and somber, but you get to save all the memories for everyone else. So
yeah,
I believe it makes it worth it.
David, what were you hoping to achieve with this contest?
This contest came about, Madeline and I were actually, our department was discussing some new outreach ideas, and the station's been trying to improve media literacy. So we had the Mini J School that started this year, and so another kind of thing that came about was what about the youth? How can we reach out and get plugged into the community and address media literacy among younger listeners and people of the community? And we ended up coming up with this idea. I love photography, so it was a shoo-in to say, what if we sponsor some photojournalism and see what our community is doing? And our theme, Window to My World, what are young people in St. Louis seeing, And so we basically had this idea and really just kind of it launched, and we, built these walls and did this whole thing surrounding trying to get our hands on the young people in this community to figure out what they're experiencing and let them tell their story, but on a stage. It's been excellent. It's been really cool to see all the entries and the award ceremony. The stories that were told were just awesome.
So Maya, I know this doesn't come with a giant cash prize or anything, but what kind of impact has this had on your work to know, hey, you're the best in show?
I feel like I'm kind of still I'm pretty normal with it. My teacher, of course, she was like, Maya won this and she won that. And she's just ghastly, just amazing and so happy. Now I'm trying to look at more work that I've done and seeing like how I could just build off of that and seeing what things like composition-wise, what I like, what I don't like, working on my portfolio for school. That's a big thing. And just deciding like where I want my photos to go, like what direction.
Mm-hmm. Sarah, for your students that did well in this contest, did you see an impact on them?
Oh, yes. So Nate, he got honorable mention for the portrait, and just I think it's put him at another level. Like it's boosted his confidence quite a bit.
That's great to hear. So, David, looking ahead, you guys are going to do this again next year?
Yeah, absolutely.
Any changes?
Well, we had actually talked about it's possible that next year it may not happen in the annual year. One of the feedback we got was that doing it a little bit later in the spring semester for students was more helpful because that's actually when the students are getting their
I see Sarah nodding.
Yeah, that's when they're getting their photo chops. They're usually in fall starting the program. So that's one thing we had talked about. So it's possible that the next annual one will technically be 2020. We're still trying to work that out. But that's, absolutely, it's going to be an ongoing outreach.
You guys are on board. That's awesome. Well, David Kovaluk of St. Louis Public Radio, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
And Sara Haag of Roosevelt High School, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And Maya Davis, thank you. And big congratulations again.
Thank you.
You can see the winning photos in the lobby of our building in Grand Center, and they'll be there through December 31st if you want to check those out. This is St. Louis on the Air on St. Louis Public Radio. That's 90.7 KWMU.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association. Missouri produces wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details on the variety of products made in the state are at choosewood.com.
St. Louis Public Radio's The Gateway gives you the day's news first thing every weekday morning. From the ever-evolving relationship between St. Louis City and County to developments in the Missouri and Illinois state capitals and reports from our correspondents in Rolla and the Metro East. We put it all in a roughly 10-minute package with clarity and context. Download The Gateway wherever you get podcasts.